Okay, I went ahead and I TIG welded around these bushing rungs, whatever I call them, and I got that fine line filled in. I'll have to grind this down nice and smooth now. But I'm also gonna, because I really don't have much experience with a TIG, so I'm gonna use this and kind of just lay a couple lines on here just to practice, because I really don't know what I'm doing with a TIG. Okay, so I guess that's not terrible. But this is the first time I've used the TIG on anything this thick. I've tried it a handful of times on sheet metal and had pretty bad luck. I watched all the how-to videos and stuff, and I know I'm doing like everything wrong, but it's hard to like think of, you know, what you saw on video while you're in the moment trying to do it for real. Alright, my batteries in my welding mask died, and I've got these two welds here done, like I was saying I was gonna do, and they're not too bad for, you know, only a handful of times running the TIG, but there's a lot of room for improvement there. Okay, I got this thing up here to do a little test fit after I got everything welded, and I got a little carried away, and this warped and went up a little bit, so I had to use a plasma cutter and zip that weld, and this one at the bottom, and I just bend that back a little bit. Also, I had a little bow in this here, but I was able to pound those out, no problem. Guess it's time to weld this little piece on. I'm just gonna tack it and then kind of finish forming it to the floor by hitting it with a hammer. I want to push this up as far as I can, so the face that touches the body is flush with the other side of this box steel that makes up the body mount channel. And the floor is kind of buckling here a little bit because there's just a little too much here. So I'm going to have to zip this with a plasma cutter and let it overlap. Hey, you get those sparks up the sleeves. I'm just going to leave that tacked, and I'll do a final weld on this when I get the body flipped over. This way there'll be, I won't try to be kind of weld overhead, it'll be going down, and it'll be just a better weld. I decided to make that cut with the angle grinder as opposed to the plasma cutter, because the plasma cutter would have left some slag up in here that I just wouldn't have been able to get to, and that would screw it up welding. So now let's see how well this pounds out. I'm going to pound on it from the other side. A little contamination in there. I keep getting these little slag bubbles because I'm welding right onto this paint, but that's okay. I'll get those ground out of there, and I'll clean this all up nice when I do the final weld, when I have the body flipped over and weld up all of this. After I finish welding the sheet metal from the back side, or from the top, next I have to take this out and sandblast this up in here. Get rid of all, I don't know if it's going to focus. There we go, all that soot and welding slag in there. Then I'll run a bead of seam sealer up in there. But before I take this out, sandblast it, I gotta see if my very old can, the seam sealer, is still usable. So I've laid a little bead down here, and we're gonna give that 30 minutes. It says it's paintable in 30 minutes, so we'll see if that's hard, or if I need to buy another can. Okay, the seam sealer has been sitting for about 40 minutes now, and it's got a good skin on it. I don't know if that's how it normally is. I guess that would be maybe paintable, I don't know, but as you can see here, it's not exactly hard, but it does have a good skin on it, so I don't know if that's how it's usually supposed to be or not. Okay, I went ahead and pulled this out and put the sandblaster to it. It's all nice and clean in there. Fresh paint, fresh coat of paint on there. It's still pretty wet, and I even dressed this up a little bit, sandblasted off the burn marks from the torch, and I cleaned up the welds with the sandblaster there and got that painted up. So I'll go home and I'll get a paintbrush, get something to eat, and I'll come back up here, and I hope I'll be able to put a coat of seam sealer on that. And by tomorrow, I think I'll be welding this end cap on.